Hello everybody, in today's video we're going to be talking about that little storm which is going to be moving through parts of the Great Lakes, Ohio Valley, and the Northeast for late this week and into early next week. So this is going to be for Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday for the most part. We're going to be talking about where some of these areas could be getting their first snowfall. That would mainly be along the coastal Northeast. It looks like you guys could get maybe an inch or two out of this storm if current models are correct, and we're going to be looking at a couple different scenarios. There are some factors that we do need to pay attention to, such as the intensity when this system actually moves through. If it comes in later, there's a higher chance that it'll move to the north. If it comes in as a quicker, faster, and weaker storm, there's a higher chance that areas like Philadelphia might even get in on a little bit of snowfall. So there are many different factors that we're going to take a look at in today's video, so let's get right into it. Let's start off with your current weather photo of the day. This one is sent in by Steve from Central Maryland. This one was taken in November 2017. It's a great photo because you can see, of course, the sun kind of being blocked out by a bit of a haze or some clouds. It's an overcast day. You see some of those clouds blocking out the sun, which makes it appear just kind of as a bright ball of light, and then of course you have the winding road in the background. So it's a really great photo from Steve. If you guys have any photos that you guys want to send in, send them over to my email address, which is elitheweatherguyyt@gmail.com, and then just write a general area from where you took that photo from. So like Steve did, you could just write Central Maryland. It doesn't have to be a town name, nothing specific, but just a general area from where you took that photo from. Here's what the current National Weather Service page looks like. And before we talk about that, I just want to say that happy Thanksgiving to all of you guys. And I hope you guys have a great Thanksgiving with your families and enjoy the turkey as well. So starting off with our National Weather Service page, you can see that we do have some frost advisories and freeze warnings up for Western California. We have some wind advisories and high wind warnings up for some parts of California, Montana, New Mexico, Texas, and Oklahoma. And then we have some flood watches in southern Texas, as well as some winter weather advisories in the UP of Michigan, and then some winter storm watches in some parts of Pennsylvania, New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine. That's from the storm that's going on for pretty much right now and through Friday and Saturday. That storm will be dropping a few inches of snowfall that could actually measure up to a decent, significant snowfall in northern New England. And then right behind it, we're going to see another storm come in from Minnesota, Wisconsin, and that area, dive down into the Great Lakes. And then depending on where it tracks, if it tracks further to the north or if it kind of just slides to the south, that's going to, of course, be something that we're going to talk about. But there are some possibilities for additional snowfall further to the south from this storm on Sunday, Monday, and into Tuesday. Yesterday, we had a high temperature of 89 degrees in Zapata, Texas. The low temperature was -2 degrees in Stanley, Idaho, as well as Mount Washington, New Hampshire. The highest rainfall report was 1.75 inches in Startup, Washington, and the highest snowfall report was 6 inches 5 miles west of West Cliff, Colorado, and that's in south central Colorado. So let's start off with the European model, and we're going to just take a look at the European model in terms of the precipitation type, just because if we look at all the different models, if we were to look at the GFS and the Canadian and all that in depth, it would probably be a 40-30 minute long video, something really crazy. And I don't want to make a 30 or 40 minute long video because I know a lot of you guys don't want to watch a 30 or 40 minute long video. So we're just going to take a look at the European model, but we will be taking a look at the snowfall maps from the GFS, the German model, and other models like that. And on my own time, and personally, I have seen the GFS and the Icon model, so I will be able to comment on that. I'm just not going to show them all in depth like we're going to do with the European. The European is just going to be kind of our base run that we're going to build off of, and this is just one different way that this storm could roll out. Now, a few days ago, the European model had this system as a very weak storm, but it did drop a few inches, 1 to 3 inches of snowfall over this area right here. here, because of how weak it was able to slide to the south of this much larger storm, which is up into eastern Canada. Now, if this storm is all the way in eastern Canada by this point, this is going to mean that we do have room for this storm to curve up at the last minute, which would leave some parts of the coastal northeast right out of the picture in terms of snowfall. But once you get northwest of I-95, there would be a better chance for snowfall. So that would include some parts of the lower part of upstate New York, northwestern New Jersey, northern and western Connecticut, northern and central Rhode Island, and then areas from Massachusetts, basically from Boston on westward and further northwest of there especially. So that would be kind of what we're expecting from the current run of models. Again, just a couple days ago, we had this as a much weaker storm, so it was not going to drop as much snowfall as is expected right now, but it was happening over a much widespread area that was actually further to the south. So the placement of the storm is going to be really important, but the placement of the storm will also not only just determine where that snow happens, but also how much snow occurs. If we see a further south model or a further south run, we're probably not going to be seeing as high of the snowfall totals as if we were to see that further north, more wound up type of storm. So this would be for Saturday afternoon. You can see that we do have some snow breaking out into Michigan, Ohio, Wisconsin. It's going to be fairly light to moderate at that point. It then starts moving into eastern Ohio, Pennsylvania, New York, and then this is where it kind of gets a little bit more interesting. We see that we have some snowfall by Sunday early afternoon, starting up into parts of southern New England, northern New Jersey, southern New York, northern Pennsylvania, northern Ohio, and Michigan. So these areas are getting in on some light snowfall at this point, and then that freezing line, so the area where you're seeing snowfall compared to the rainy side further to the south, is basically from New York City on in kind of in a parallel line or on a horizontal line. So if you were to draw a line east to west from New York City, that would basically be your rain snow line up to this point, according to the European model at this current moment. So areas in southern New England, assuming you don't live right along the coast, meaning you're maybe just a couple miles inland of the coast, you would be getting in on a little bit of snowfall based on this model. Now, we do have two different storms working at this point. We have one storm right here, and we have another coastal system over here. The further away this coastal storm is, the better if you live further to the south. So if you live in Philadelphia, or you live in New York City, or you live in New Jersey, and you want to see snowfall, you're going to want this coastal low pressure system to either be further south, or you would want it to be pushed to the east a little bit more, because that would create more separation between you and the storm, meaning that you would have more of a back edge of cold air, which could dive to the south. So again, a multi-storm system, and that's really going to be a challenge for some of these models to figure out. Here's Monday, or this will actually be Sunday night into Monday morning. We still have some snow into much of Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Ohio, New York, still in northern New Jersey, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts getting in on some snowfall. And then we see our next wave of snow, because we did have that storm again. We had one low pressure system in New York and Pennsylvania, and then we had that other coastal one. So now that this low pressure system is kind of converging with this coastal one, that's going to mean that we will have another surge of moderate snowfall for Sunday night into Monday morning, according to this model, and then it would eventually move out right in time for the morning commute. So in terms of the morning drive to work, you should be fairly good. It might still be snowing by 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning, but it'll be very light, and it might be actually mixing in with a little bit of rainfall. So any of the heavy snowfall or moderate snowfall would have fallen on Sunday, which should give the plows enough time to shovel off the roads. It should be good enough for the morning commute. I don't think there's going to be too many hassles, although whenever you do have snow and rain and all of that, it can cause some issues. So I would be a little bit cautious on Monday morning. But if you're looking at visibility, I think that'll all be good because we will have most of the heavy snowfall out of here by Monday morning, which would be November 29th. And then you can see actually on the left-hand side of your screen, right after this, we do have another threat of some snowfall into the same exact area as we get to Tuesday or Wednesday of next week. So this is going to be an action-packed next few days in terms of snowfall in these spots. Here's the European model. Now I do need to kind of give a little bit of a disclaimer. This snowfall up here is mostly because of the storm which happened, which is happening actually right now for today and Friday in these spots. So this is not due to this storm, but most of this snowfall, which is over further to the south, is due to the storm, which is for Monday and Sunday as well. So this is most of that Sunday and Monday storm, and you can see that we are actually looking at the possibility of a couple inches of snowfall, maybe a light coating of snow as you get further to the south, mixing in with some rain, and then you get inland especially, and you can definitely get 4, 5, 6 inches of snowfall that would have to get shoveled away. If you're looking at areas along I-95, you're probably looking at right around 1 to 3 inches if the European model were to be correct, especially up as you get north of New York. That would really be where you would be dealing with the bulk of your snowfall. GFS model tucked away a little bit further to the north, but it does bring a little bit higher snowfall totals to areas inland, especially into southern, or actually central New England. So southern Vermont, southern New Hampshire would get a little bit more out of the storm. So would coastal Maine. They would be getting a few inches out of this storm. So again, this is just showing you how much uncertainty there is with some of these models. And that's why when you see on the internet some people already giving out snowfall forecasts when we're still 4 to 5 days out from this system occurring, it's really irresponsible. And the problem is some of those people actually claim to be meteorologists or weather experts, and that's why personally you're never going to hear me saying that I am a meteorologist or a weather expert, because I'm not. I haven't done any schooling. I'm just an enthusiast about the weather, but some people actually do claim to be that on the internet, even though they aren't, and that can be misleading, especially when you're talking about some of these storms, and they're already forecasting and giving out snowfall forecasts on these systems this far out. So personally, all this video is about is really discussing what could happen with this system and giving you my initial thoughts, but I'm not going to have a snowfall forecast probably until either Saturday or Sunday morning especially. So I'm going to wait off before really making any final judgments on this system. And then the icon model, or the German model, is showing less snowfall, which is typical of the German model, but it's also showing this tucked away further to the north. So we'll have to see if that is the case. I'm not ruling out any snowfall along this area right here. But if you're looking at anything that's really going to be significant, you're going to want to get really northwest of this line right here to get most of that snowfall that will actually accumulate and stick and really cause at least some disturbances on the roadways. Here to be the temperatures. So this is just a random snapshot. This is Sunday early in the morning, and I want you guys to really focus in on how borderline these temperatures are. Look at these temperatures from about New York City down to Philadelphia, and kind of in that entire zone. Look how close they are to 32. You're looking at pretty much that entire area, either between 30 or 34 degrees. So that's really, really close to that freezing mark. A few degrees colder, and that would be a mostly snow system in those areas. So it is still a fairly close system in terms of the actual temperatures, and one of the things that is probably being overlooked is that we do have a slightly colder upper air pattern. So this is that same exact moment early on Sunday morning, but looking at the 925 HPA temperatures at this point. So the 0 degrees Celsius line is equivalent to 32 degrees Fahrenheit, and it basically runs right through here across parts of southern Michigan through Ohio, Pennsylvania, New Jersey. So that would be where that 0 degrees Celsius line would actually go. I know it would actually be a little bit further south than that actually, so it would probably be closer to right around here in terms of that 0 line. So it is further to the south, especially down in New England, where these areas are a few degrees colder on the upper air map than on the surface map. So when you have just 2 or 3,000 feet up above the surface, some really cold air. It's not super cold, but it is cold enough to support some snowfall, at least in the upper air. It's not, you're really, if you have intensity, you will be able to get some of that snowfall to come down to the ground in a wet snow fashion. So it might be harder to shovel away. It might be a wet snowfall, but you do have the possibility, especially if this cold air is maybe just a couple degrees colder. If it's maybe instead of 34 degrees, it's 31 degrees, well, then it's going to be snowing instead of raining. So these subtle differences are really going to make a big impact on where this actually ends up with the snowfall. So whether we get snowfall further to the south or further to the north. Here's a look at the upper air map. So this would be for Saturday, and you can see that we have that trough moving through Wisconsin and Iowa. This is your system. So this is going to be moving across the Great Lakes. Really, a big part of this system is going to be this storm up near Atlantic Canada, because this storm is going to provide the blocking for this system to move into the northeast. So again, if this storm stays right here, what that's going to do is force this storm to kind of take a more southerly approach and stay further to the south. But if this system moves further northeast, even by a little bit, well, now that opens up some room for, at the last second, this storm to kind of curve to the north, which would leave many of those areas right along the coastal regions out of the snowfall, and it would leave areas in the inland areas with a little bit extra snowfall, where you would probably get a 4 to 6 inch or more snowfall accumulation if that were the case. So that storm out of Wisconsin is going to grow by Sunday morning. Look at where the other storm is by this point, all the way up here. So there is room for this storm to curve up, maybe just a little bit. It's not a ton of room on the European model. And if we move this up a little bit more, you can see that it is becoming more of a broad system. We have one upper air center here, and we have another one down here. So you're going to need this low pressure center, the coastal one, to move out a little bit, because when you have that storm so close to you, it is going to be harder to generate any cold air, because the cold air is going to stay northwest of the storm center itself. If we move this on to Monday early in the morning, look how close this storm is to the coast. It's right over New Jersey by this point, which means that some parts of New Jersey are going to be in the snowfall, getting 4 to 6 inches if this were to be the case, and then there's going to be other parts of the state that'll be completely rain, and then right in the middle, it would probably be a mix of both of them. So really, you're going to see a battleground between areas further to the north in the colder zone, and then you're going to see areas further to the south, closer to the low pressure system, getting in on just the rainfall. So it's really going to be within a matter of 50 miles. You can see a really big difference in the total snowfall amounts out of this storm. And then if we just move this on to Monday early afternoon, it moves into parts of southern New England. You have two different centers right here, and much of New England by this point would be at least in some light or moderate snowfall once we get into Monday afternoon, and by Tuesday morning it would be pretty much all said and done with. So that is going to wrap it up for today's video. Again, this was just an initial look at what's happening, just to give you an idea of what we could expect from this Sunday, Monday storm. So I will be issuing a couple more outlooks on this. If you're expecting a snowfall forecast, you're going to probably have to wait off again until Saturday or Sunday, because I don't want to put out anything too early and then have it end up being completely wrong. We have seen that these models have shifted at the last second, so whether that would be a shift further to the north or to the south, we still don't know. And for that reason, I'm just going to hold off on making any final judgments on the storm just now. So again, today's video was just purely a discussion on what could happen, what I'm personally seeing in the models, and what I would expect from these initial models, and what I think could shift and what could happen within the next few hours. So if you have any questions or comments, leave a comment down below, and if you have any weather photos that you guys want to send in, send them over to my email address, which is in the description down below, and have a great Thanksgiving.